When did we first meet? It was at the Garden, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Obviously, I knew we were going to chat. Now, you came in, I believe, with BEF.
That's right.
And John Fox's Garden studio was pretty new at that time and had a bit of a vibe for the electronic music community, obviously, because John's such a legend. And I was a huge leaf as well. So it was one of many little turns in my life, because I realized when you turned up with your own engineer. You turned up as a crew, which is very much a modern way of working. And I just helped John get his studio off the ground, and I was a very junior engineer at that time. And I was wondering about a possibility of working for clients who turned up at the studio. And seeing you guys turn up with your own team made me realize that things were shifting, and so I didn't hang around hoping to pick up work at John's. I investigated other routes.
I mean, if I'd have known what a legend you were to become, I would have not employed Nick Patrick at all. Could have saved some fucking money.
And I'm sure Nick did a great job. And no, I know it was, and that's exactly. So when's that? It's about 82, I'm guessing. Is it about something?
81, 82? I can't really remember.
I mean, no, I can't either. Sometime around then. So,
but yeah. So John, and what impressed me about it was John was just hanging out there, and just like chilling and saying hello to people. And of course, it's John's like just slightly before we start. I mean, they started mid-70s. So they were kind of in between movements. They started off with Tiger Lily, didn't they? And then moved into the electronic stuff. But they were a big influence on the early Human League. Did you like their stuff at that time?
Ultravox. I didn't really know Ultravox. I met John because I was working in a little studio in North London, and he's very clever guy, and he wanted to make a minimal record. I think after Ultravox, he's a huge minimalist fan, isn't he? So he had this what seems like a very simple but very deep idea of, if he was going to make a minimalist record, how about working in a really small studio with very little gear?
Oh, right, okay.
Which is kind of what he did. So he rocked up at this 8-track that was local to him in Tollington, in Stoke Newington, essentially. And so I was like not a resident engineer. I was one of the engineers who were freelancing out of that tiny little space. And so I met him, and then that's how our relationship developed. It wasn't that I was a huge Ultravox fan, but I was a huge Metamatic fan. And that was really, really important to me, because that was the first. I mean, John was such a great mentor for me, very kind and very knowledgeable. You have to remember, he was hugely experienced. He'd already made 3 albums when I met him.
A proper rock god.
Yeah. And I haven't made any. So that album was the first one that I recorded and mixed, from top to bottom. So that was a great.
So were you always excited by the prospect of electronic music? I know it said on your Wikipedia thing, it said you're right into tape manipulation early doors. Is that right?
I had I bought a tape recorder from fruit picking when I was at school from a holiday job. I was very excited I've always been very excited about recorded sound, but also I've been very excited about it within that, electronic music. I guess that's been one of the main threads in my musical life, although I do love all kinds of music, Martin. But I'm a non-musician, and so the do-it-yourself, I know, the do-it-yourself attitude of, wait a minute, we've got these machines, we can make beats, we can make melodies, we can create magical sci-fi worlds, I suppose, as they seem to be then. That was always super intriguing to me, and it seemed to follow on naturally from, dicking about with a tape recorder and making simple edits when I was a teenager. I mean, I more used my tape recorder for sound effects stuff, I think. I wasn't making like sophisticated collages or anything. I wasn't in that kind of world as I imagine, Cabaret Voltaire were or something when they were teenagers. It was, but still, it was, and music's always been electronic for me actually, because most of my profound musical experiences have been like listening on headphones or listening to speakers, listening to the stereo. I'm a kind of a recorded music guy, so electronics is right there, even if I'm listening to a Bach cello suite. Of course, I've enjoyed many live concerts over the decades, but really, deep in my DNA is this music as a recorded art form. That's big. That's really big for me.
Yeah, it is for us, really. I mean, I've mentioned this in previous podcasts, but there was a very seminal moment for me. It was an article in NME by Eno saying all you need that rock and roll is dead, which is quite a broad statement, or like traditional guitar-based rock, and B, all you needed to be in a band fully equipped for the future was a synthesizer, a microphone, and a tape recorder. Well, he said a Revox. I couldn't afford one of them, but and we took it to heart, so that's really the genesis of, or the pre-genesis of the Human League and Future before that. And it proved to be correct,
Yeah, and I don't know Mr. Eno, but I'm a huge admirer of many of his wonderful aphorisms and penetrating insights. But obviously, it's lovely to a great sweeping statement. But also, it happened later, didn't it, with two turntables and a microphone, which generated another whole set of music from, if you like, non-musicians. And I've embraced that recently. Actually, the first time in my life I bought an MPC, and so I'm really connecting to the workflow of the MPC because the pads are not connected to the notes necessarily. You can have any sound on any pad, and that kind of works for me quite well.
Oh, interesting. I detect a certain self-effacingness about being a musician, which I also is within the back of my mind. I try and exorcise it from time to time, which is a kind of not for the likes of me kind of thing. I'm not jealous of people who've had musical training at all. In fact, the majority of people on this podcast are self-taught.
Yeah.
But there is always that thing about we are really musicians, it's just that we have a different methodology. That's all. So
Yes, and I understand that, but also there's something nice, isn't there? There's something loud and proud about saying, actually, I've explored the world of Euro rack modular in the last 5-7 years, like many of us. And obviously one of the things that attracts me to that is partly because it's modular, and I grew up in recording studio. It's essentially a modular environment, where nothing works unless you plug it together. Yeah. And I used to play the studio. In fact, that's what I thought of myself through the 80s. I thought like inspired by Mr. Eno, that was my instrument, the studio.
Interesting.
But obviously none of my modulars have a keyboard, for instance. So, and the kind of music I make is the kind of music where some people go, is that music?
I was listening to your Electrogenetic album. Is that right?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening.
And it's a very beautiful thing.
Thank you.
To say, I'm really impressed with it. And there's certain kind of Jean-Michel Jarre-esque kind of thing going on there. On I Believe, especially. Anyway, I just thought I'd tell you because I want people to go out and buy it.
Thank you. We've done a little crowd-funded, this is a good PR moment for me, actually, because we've done a little crowd-funded vinyl press thing. And the vinyl is allegedly, obviously it takes about 6 months to arrive. The vinyl is allegedly arriving in October. So hopefully
exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting for me. Yeah, it is.
So you feel like a proper rock star. That's it. You've got vinyl coming out.
It's not my first vinyl, actually. I've done a collaboration with our mutual friend Daniel Miller as Sunroof.
Sunroof, right.
Yeah, the Electronic Music Improvisations Volume 1. That snuck out first, actually. So that was kind of lovely for me as well, because Daniel's such a visionary and, more importantly, a dear old friend. and obviously had a long working relationship with his label. So it's nice to have a piece of vinyl from one of the sub labels of Mute.
Yeah.
And I've got another project with a friend in the Catskill Mountains, a project called Naus Alpha, and we've done our second or he, I should say, is his label. He's done our second record on vinyl as well. So I'm in a bit of a vinyl riches moment at the moment.
Oh wow! Well, you know, we with M17 we stopped releasing things digitally completely. We wouldn't let them go out. It was like a moral crusade we were on about 5 or 6 years ago. We said we're only going to release things on vinyl because it's the only way you can make money out of this shit.
Well, and it promotes, as we know, it promotes a different kind of listening experience, which is like really important. I don't think I'm going to make any money out of my projects because they're very low profile. But I do really get behind the vinyl, the cassette, you know, because we know most people put a side of vinyl on and they listen through the whole side before they take it off, and that alone,
take it off.
That alone, exactly. That alone is a winner, right? That, you know,
Exactly.
Because many of us make music to be listened to in a sequence, you know.
Well, I think that's one of the things that's been lost. This idea initially started off with the iPod, I suppose, where you could just skip to whatever track or even randomize them. And I think that's a really devolutionary process. It's a bit, in the words of the great Devo. I think we're all Devo now in musical terms. And I think the idea of creating a narrative over an album is something I'm always encouraging my students that I teach to consider when they're doing a final project for the MA or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, do something with the thought that there's some kind of narrative behind it all, and do like a lot of hip hop things. They have like interstitial pieces of music between tracks, stuff like that. I love all that shit.
So do I.
Because it builds a framework for you to populate with your own meaning. Otherwise, it's just bits of stuff, isn't it? You know, it's ephemeral. Anyway, on that bombshell, the tape editing thing is a big thing for me as well, because I'm a big fan of the early Radiophonic Workshop stuff, and I've become friends with them. I don't know if you've ever seen a presentation where I think it's Mark Ayres shows a breakdown of all the stems of Doctor Who, and how each sound was created. And you know what? There's no synthesizers on it at all. It's all
it's concrete, isn't it?
yeah,
Music concrete,
basically.
or whatever, oscillators or however they did it. Yeah, it's amazing.
Like a tuning oscillator, or literally, you know, hammering a piano string and then editing it into the composition and all that stuff. Anyway,
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, it's an interesting process for people who are interested. I mean, you know, the students that I deal with only know digital audio workstations. That's it. They can't afford, a lot of them can't afford, most of them can't afford outboard gear or Eurorack or anything. So that's become the lingua franca of creativity in music now, is a DAW, which has got severe limitations, not the least of which is when you're looking at a screen, it connects you, it wires your brain in a certain way to organize things using your visual acuity rather than your ears.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I absolutely feel what you're saying, and obviously it's a wonderfully powerful tool, and we all use them in our own. I use them in my day job, you know, and I use them in my hobby job, which is making my own music, if you like. So, but I think they're very dangerous. They're very wonderful tools, and they're very dangerous tools. I do try to encourage the practice, at least when we're listening to mixes, for instance. If I'm in my, I try to turn the screen off when we sit down and listen to it. My mix.
Yeah.
Just you know, my screen. I've got old school screens on my computer. They've just got a little switch on the side, so I can just touch the switch and the screen goes blank. Because I do feel when you can see stuff about to arrive on the timeline, it makes a massive difference. Even if you know the composition, just that thing of being able to see that those 6 blocks of green are about to hit the cursor. You know?
Yeah.
So I agree with that. Also, I'm very scared of the track count. I'm very scared of the fact that you can do hundreds and hundreds of tracks. And where I'm not scared, if I'm working with someone of your experience and your arrangement skills and your understanding how sound fits together, I'm not scared, because I know that if you were to rock up with a 250 track session, it would probably make sense. But I do find a lot of, how can I put this kindly? A lot of beginners, I suppose, a lot of people at the start of their creative journey, dive in and they don't have the arrangement skills to deal with all these tracks. So suddenly there's a lack of commitment, isn't there? And also there's just everything gets thrown at the computer, because, you know, the benefits of, you know, to go back to John Fox, the benefits of his method of saying, well, this needs to be minimal, I'm going to use an 8-track tape recorder, is kind of, that's really profound. And I've done projects I've done this year, one of my spiritual friendship projects, and one of the projects I've done with Naos Alpha, I've suggested to my colleagues that we track limit inside the DAW and say, look, can we just go for 8 stereo tracks, you know, and if it goes to 12, okay, but, you know, can we just really try and both of these guys are about 40, and I got a kind of a quizzical glance initially, but they both went with it and really enjoyed the process. You know, it's very hard to do with digital because it's so easy to make a safety copy and hide the track and protect. There's the commitment of having to wipe something off on an old-fashioned tape recorder in order to put something better on just doesn't exist in a DAW.
And there was also a financial implication, because the tape was very expensive.
Yes, man.
Yeah. I'm just going to change my network briefly, because we're getting a little bit of glitching. One sec.
Good.
Right, that should be better now. Yes, so I fully agree with that. And I mean, you know, with the early Human League, we only had an 8-track 1-inch tape machine, which in fact 2 of the tracks didn't work. And are you hearing me okay?
Yeah, great.
And so we had severe limitations, only 2 synthesizers, yeah, etc. And then it all started going tits up when we went into a big studio, you know. But you know, the usual thing. So you know, 72 track, multiple links synchronization. It used to take 15 seconds to sync back up if you wanted to do a drop in. All that. People will never understand the pain of all that. So
no, that's right. And Mr. Reno said something again. I mean, you know, I know we're all, well, certainly, you know, he's a towering figure in modern recorded music, but anyone who romanticizes working with tape has never actually done it. I saw him, he said somewhere, well, I saw he wrote down, so someone allegedly said that he said it. I thought that's exactly what you're saying. Tape's wonderful, but let's not over romanticize it, because it's challenging.
oh,
Right.
very. And also just the
Challenges are good, aren't they?
Oh, they are good. But this, you know, when you've got, say, for instance, you worked on a mix and then the record company comes back and says, not so keen on it. Then you have to do a recall, which takes half a fucking day in an expensive studio. And it may not sound the same either. Sometimes the accidents are good, but not always. You know, that's the thing. Okay, I've got a little game for us. Since we're fellow lovers of electronic music. On the podcast I did with Daniel, we came up with this idea of 7 deadly synths. And I was trying to figure out how that could work as an item on the show. And so what I'm going to do is ask you for your 7 deadly synths that you feel an empathy with. If you need time to think about it, I can tell you mine. It's up to you, or I can tell you afterwards.
Well, that's, you know, it's obviously it's personal, isn't it? And it's to do with personal history. So what am I? And I've got there's two strands to this. I suppose let's just go for it. I could start with a Wasp, because I think I never owned a Wasp, but one of my friends, someone actually, John Barker. Do you remember John Barker?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
In the arrangement.
Yeah.
He had a Wasp really early, obviously because that was vaguely affordable, and so that was a big thing. I don't know how much useful musical work I did with it, but it made a massive impression. And that company went on to be Novation, didn't it? I think, via I believe so. I believe one of the Novation designers designed the Wasp. I'd have to look it up, but I think that's the part of the history of it. And the Oscar and all this, I think it's from the same genius mind. But so we got the Wasp there.
I'm writing this down.
Just for affordability, I suppose, really, and accessibility, Then, and this is just I suppose then, because Wendy Carlos's record Switched on Bach, I've talked about this before, it made a massive impression on me, along with a big part of my youth. So Moog Series 3, I suppose, was another really early one that just slapped me in the face. I thought, whoa, what can you do with that? Because that sounded like, even though it was the sound music from the past, I suppose it came out in about 68, I think. I was about 14 or 15.
It's the greatest single synth album of all time, in my view.
It had a huge impression on me, Martin,
I love Bach as well, so that is a double whammy for me.
Absolutely the same. I grew up with a classical music background, not an education, but a background. To be honest, my mum and dad's house, pop music was considered to be rubbish. So classical music was what it was all about. So hearing this composer who I already knew a little bit of his work on this. Anyway, so the Moog Series 3 has to be on there for that very reason. And I suppose it was a comment. I didn't really get into West Coast and Morton Subotnick and all this when I was a kid. But Doctor Who, the Radiophonic Workshop and Wendy Carlos's work of genius, Switched on Bach, massive impressions on me. So I didn't really know what was going on in the Radiophonic Workshop synth-wise, so there's no Seven Deadly Synths there. And then moving forwards, I suppose, then to John, he had only three tools, three sound making tools. He had a CR78 drum machine, which I suppose would be my next Seven Deadly Synth.
Yeah.
And he also had an ARP Odyssey, which I wouldn't put on the Deadly Synths list for me somehow. Don't know why, but it was the synth on the album. But the CR78,
that's a good machine.
That was amazing to me. Just a little, again, it wasn't affordable to me as a young engineer, but it was vaguely affordable. And this, automatic rhythm, I suppose. It's a drum machine. That's what they call them, isn't it, Martin? It's a drum machine.
That's the new thing.
Yeah, it's a machine for playing beats. And I thought that was amazing. Really, really amazing. Partly, I suppose, because as a young engineer, I also spent a long time trying to get good drum sounds
a good drummer
from not very good drummers. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, maybe it wasn't in the garden, but it's when I was doing the BEF album. There was a drummer that we had. I think he might have been Simple Minds drummer. What's it called? Oh no, Anyway, doesn't matter. I think I got another drummer in first, and he turned up with a bunch of cymbals and a bunch of toms and 2 hi-hats, and I said, get rid of all that shit for a start. We're having 1 kick drum, snare, a hi-hat, and 1 cymbal, and that's all. The toms will record separately because they sound better.
Yeah.
And he went, oh no. I went, well, that's the way I think about it. Then as soon as the Lindrum came out, bingo! I'm going, I don't need them anymore. No.
It's funny.
And then, of course, I went through that phase, and of course, you do need them. But
of course, because it's a totally different skill. It's a totally different approach. And there's obviously in modern music, there's room for everything, which is one of the wonderful things about where we are right now. I think that you can really mix up styles And that's partly, I suppose, led by hip hop as well, where because of the collage nature of the cut up and the MPC work that was done. And so we've got to the CR78.
Yeah, we're on Moog Modular was CR78.
Yeah. So then I suppose then this really is just how these things appeared in my life. Obviously, Depeche Mode rocked up when we made Construction Time again with some synths, and the standout one for me, I suppose, was Daniel's ARP 2600.
Oh, fucking hell.
Obviously, which we're still all huge fans of, you know.
God, I've always wanted one. I can't afford. Well, I can afford it, but
I can't afford one. I won't. But there's a new the course. There's one coming out now, isn't there? About to come out, a smaller version. Behringer make one now. I don't know how good that sounds, but anyway, it's about the sound, and it's about the workflow, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I love the semi-modular nature of it. That was the first synth really that I experienced hands-on, you know, in the studio, where you could really plug different things into different things and make, you know, you could make the filter resonate and it would make a sound without an oscillator, and you know, all kinds of and it had a wonderful spring reverb in it.
yeah, I fell in love with the ARP 2600 in the kind of prog rock period, I suppose.
Okay.
With people like Van der Graaf Generator and I just love the fact that it was very strange, otherworldly sounds, and it wasn't about like the kind of American synths, which were all about wee diddly 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 diddly, showing off your musicianship.
Yes.
So that sounded more like an Irish fiddle. Sorry, I apologise for that. But
the bend, the slide and the bends. It's a
yeah. So the ARP 2600 is a big thing for me. I just want to say something before we carry on with this list. I've asked pretty much everybody who have interviewed what their favourite synth is, and there's only been 2 duplications in 60 episodes.
Brilliant.
Everybody's got a different favourite synth.
Isn't that brilliant?
Yes.
Kind of like if you were to ask a painter what their favourite colour was.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, the broad palette, right? The whatever they call the chroma key palette or whatever it's called, Pantone. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of different Pantone colours out there. That's wonderful.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. That shows you just how personal it is, right? So
nicely. Okay. No, you're on.
So I've done 4. It's getting difficult now because then there's, you know, I can't say the AKS Synthy because I never owned one and I never.
You don't have to have owned one. You don't have to have owned one. It can be one that you've admired from afar if you want.
That's true. But I don't. But I did. I won't put that on there because. Now then. So really, I can move right through to. I'm just trying to.
If you want.
I think I'm going to have to move through to my personal favourites now. You know, where I'm at now. I never had a mini Moog, and the Moogs. The Series 3 was on there. I was lucky enough to be gifted a Mother 32. And I really loved it. The little Moog Mother 32.
No, I don't know that one.
Semi-modular. It's in the series with the DFAM and the subharmonics.
Oh, right.
It's their kind of affordable, low-end synth. One oscillator, really, a little sequencer, and a nice filter. It's a real Moog for beginners. That's what I felt about it.
That cost roughly.
And I don't know. They're about 500 quid, I think.
That's pretty good.
Yes, they are. It's pitched down. So out again. It's double. I don't care really. It's just a bit of fun. But it's double Moog on the list. I don't know if that's worth it. I don't know if it's worth adding another Moog after
the. Take it out if you think of something.
But it's definitely become part of my toolkit, and I love the sound of the bottom end of it.
Yeah,
really.
I'll tell you what I noticed on your electrogenetic stuff is how beautifully warm the general spectral characteristic of the mixers were beautiful. So I mean, because the majority of contemporary electronic makers, even if they're using digital synthesizers, even if they're using analog synthesizers, it's still got a lot to do with how you record it and how you optimize the bottom end, and that's like a secret dark art, really.
It is, yeah, and it's so important to listen to the current work of the greats. I was sharing this with another friend and colleague the other day because he was struggling with the bottom end, finding room in his and I said, well, look, if it's important to you, listen to. Well, I think we used it. He was quite close to. He's a huge Gary Newman fan, and he was. I said, well, what are you going for? And we finished up, because I tried to play a few references. We finished up listening to Gary Newman, and I said, well, the thing is, they wanted to have that bottom end on from the beginning. Obviously, when the track was composed, it's not something you can shove on afterwards. Everyone knew, the producer, the engineer, the mix guy, the composer. Everyone knew they wanted to have this space. So
yeah. What's very interesting about Gary, because I interviewed him as well. I'd never met him before, and I fact I've gotten really well with him.
I've never met him.
He's a very, I mean, I'm not so sure about his politics, but his musical heart is good, and he literally discovered a Moog in a studio that he went to record his first album, and they'd done all the arrangements, rehearsed it. It was a rock band, right? And he literally, this is what he told me anyway, he literally went, nope, this is the future.
Yeah.
They went away and rearranged everything, incorporating synth. But the Tube Way Army stuff was with drums as well, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I read somewhere recently, one of the mags, I don't know where it was, there was an interview with him, obviously going along with his new record that's just been out in the last few months.
Which is very good, by the way.
Yes, it is. I really enjoy it. That's the record I'm talking about with bottom end. I'm not talking about
Intruder. Yeah.
In the 80s, none of us had any bottom end. We didn't have. Only Bob Clearmountain and Chic knew how to do bass in the 80s. No one else kind of nailed it, really. But anyway, but he also said that luckily for him, that there was a patch on the synth that sounded awesome. And he said, had he gone to the synth and pressed the key and it sounded shit, basically, to him, he might not have had this transformative experience, Wow. Someone had for some reason, he pressed a key and it blew him away, Anyway.
It was a Moog, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so it's probably and that was really what was on his records. And in thinking back to those early records, when I was really pissed off because we'd been doing it for 2 years by then, and we were all trendy in the papers and everything, but no fucker was buying our records.
Yeah.
So, not in enough numbers anyway. Yeah. And he came out and went straight to number one and gone, oh, for fuck's sake.
I know.
But they did sound great, those records.
Yeah, it took me ages to get, Gary Newman was the competition back then.
That's right.
Like when I was working with Depeche and Mute, he was something for me anyway. It was the competition, so it took me ages to come around. But his new record, I haven't got it on repeat listen or anything, but I listened to it a couple of times and I really admired it and enjoyed it.
It's a well-made record, and
great atmosphere, broad
soundstage, everything.
Really
very nice, and good luck to him, I say. Yeah, there you go. I've got newly found respect. You don't have to be an enormous fan of the music to respect the musician.
And I also think the longer I've got much less. I've got way more inclusive in my approach to musicians as I've got older, because we're not in a competition with each other, and so many people do such great work, and I feel it's very, and I have a huge admiration for anyone who can carve out a life and a career in the arts. Full stop, man.
40 years, man. I'm telling you.
Exactly.
We deserve a fucking medal.
We deserve a half pint of ale.
A half barrel, I think.
A gold watch.
And gold watch. No, but there are times in your career where you think this could all go tits up. Very
absolutely. There are times when it has done, personally speaking.
Yeah.
So So all power to creativity, I say.
I'm saying the same thing, and it's persistence as well, and
Yes,
resilience.
it is absolutely, and it's reinventing yourself as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Tell me about working with Depeche, because I got into a lot of trouble recently because I said, I'm not really a Depeche Mode fan. I kind of admire their single-mindedness, but I just kind of, I don't know. I just remember them when they were a happy pop band, and not that they always have to stay that way, but then it went incredibly dark, and I felt I didn't feel like it was completely authentic. It was almost like they were pandering to their fans, but I think I misjudged them.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I want to finish my synth thing though. I'll talk briefly because I want
We're still on that, aren't we?
I want to touch on Make Noise because I'm a huge fan of Make Noise from North Carolina, and they're from Asheville as well, like Moog, funnily enough. And really, it's through my Make Noise modules and my Make Noise system that
MOTE, is it?
make noise, MAKE, make noise,
Right.
and it's really through their modules and that I've come to find an instrument that connects to me. So it could have been other modular stuff, but in my journey, it's been Make Noise.
What's special about it?
I don't know. It's something to do with aesthetic. What's special about a guitar maker? I mean, all the guitars, all the acoustics have got six or whatever. I don't know about guitars. Many of them have got six strings and a neck, right, and a body. Right. So, right, there's something about one of the things that attracted to me initially was Daniel had a module that he showed me, and it was labeled in a really weird way, and I had no idea what the ins and what the outs were. And I kind of ignored it for about 6 months, and then gradually I got drawn in. So I find it just seems like a very creative company. They met, and it's not, of course, with Modular, you're not really talking about one synthesizer. With Modular now, I've moved into the world where I tend to build a case for the particular project. I take modules out and re-put them in, which is a great part of Modular, actually.
Yeah.
I don't have I don't try and have everything plugged in at once. I try to have I wrote a record with a young woman in lockdown, and I'm going on tour for my sins as a support. Yes, I am going on tour. I'm terrified, but
You've done
I'm going to do it. No, I've never been on tour as a musician. No.
Oh my God.
So
I'm going to die, man.
And we're only the support act, but it's all with friends. So, but I'm going away to France for a couple of weeks to rehearse, and I built a case for that, for instance, because I thought, what do I need to do? I need to be able to play bass, I need to be able to play the arpeggios, and I need to be able to do some effects. So I assembled the what I thought for me the required modules in a case, So that's my thing. So, but I would say a Make Noise shared system, say that is a synth you can buy in a case. Is in my 7 deadly synths.
Okay, and now we're down to
one to go. Left. Oh goodness me, I don't know, Martin. Tell me one of yours.
Okay, I am a big fan of Teenage Engineering.
Okay,
those guys, and the one that's been most inspirational to me in the last few years is the OP1, which I just think is a phenomenal machine. It incorporates so much stuff that's weird, and the design philosophy fascinates me. And every time I switch it on, I don't know what the fuck's going to come out. Right. It's got so many layers, but it's kind of human, as opposed to a lot of the kind of weirder Japanese digital stuff, which is a bit kind of obfuscating. That's the word I'd use. This is like, it draws you in to experiment. So that's what I'd reckon. That's one of mine.
That's great. My friend Nick from Spiritual Friendship, he is a huge OP1 fan as well.
And also these things, the
little ones, yeah,
they're fucking awesome, and you can link them all together and sync them all together.
I know that's a bit, the user interface I find a little bit quirky on those little babies.
It is, but I love it anyway.
Yeah, great. What a great.
I love it because it's quirky, I think.
Yes. And same, I suppose, with this design philosophy, this feeling that you're connecting with a genius maker, a genius engineer when you're using their tools.
Yeah, exactly. It's very interesting. I just did an interview with Jonathan Barnbrook, who did the graphics for Bowie's last 4 albums,
Okay.
including Black Star. And he was involved with the exhibition, the Bowie exhibition on the V&A, and amazing graphic designer. And I've always felt that there's an amazing synergy between graphic design and music making, and electronic music making is some there's some kind of weird synesthetic combination in my brain between an organized graphical representation and, I mean, modular synths, for instance, how you rationalize that stuff. And so I find, anyway, the design philosophy of a synth is very important to me.
That's really interesting that you say that, because I had, in my day job as an engineer and producer, I had folders of unfinished ideas for years. Now, obviously, I admire all my artist friends, yourself included, for completing stuff. I was unable to complete. I could complete a commissioned remix. I could complete a production job or an engineering job. I couldn't complete my own work. And one of the breakthroughs for me came from doing collage with the magazines, cutting up.
Really?
Yeah, doing old school cut and paste collage. And I did a few, and 3 or something. And then I stepped back and I thought, oh, that's really amazing. And then I was like, duh, I completed that collage. I even put one of them in a frame, a completed work. So that's part of my personal history, what you're saying about the connection between somehow graphic design and music design. That really was a catalyst for me, Martin. And it got me over the hurdle of, it helped me negotiate with this critic that was shutting me down.
I've got, there's a story again I've told before, but I'll keep it short. Green Gartside, obviously Scrittipaliti, well, he's a fucking genius.
Yeah.
He had a real problem in finishing albums. He used to revise them constantly. And anyway, he brought me in, cut a long story short, to do a couple of singles. We did a couple of cover versions with Shavaranks and She's a Woman and all that stuff. And my main job, he knew what he wanted with sounds, arrangement, everything. He really knew it all.
Yeah.
Needed some help with the mixing, but my main job was getting him to move on. And I likened it to the illness that dart players have, called dartitis, where they keep lining the dart up and they can't let go.
Oh, really? Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing. It's afflicted world champions and everything. And they get this thing and they're going, like, they normally do 3 or 4. And then it's like, I can't actually get to that singularity of releasing it.
Yeah.
I think it sounds similar to you and a lot of other artists.
Yeah.
Have a kind of, it's not even self-doubt. It's a kind of, it can always be better, so I'm going to keep working on it.
Exactly.
Bollocks.
Exactly.
You've got to do it. You've got to do an authentic expression of your artistic intent. Let it go. Move on. Do something else.
Absolutely. Isn't that important? Just realizing, same in any, probably across life, actually, you do the best you can at the moment, and then you move on. You've dug the garden, you've put the fertilizer in, you've got this year's crop. It might be awesome, it might be average, doesn't matter. Move on, hit the apples, kind of thing.
Well, so you're a different person the following week when you start working on it again.
Yes.
So you're chasing your tail.
Yes. So it's so important to just find a way to rule off, and that's why constraints like limited track numbers and so on are useful, right? There is a sense in which, on the 8-track at least, but when the 8-track's full, if you've given it a little bit of thought, when all 8 tracks are full, it might be finished. It's time to move on to another piece of music if that one didn't work out,
Exactly. And Being Boiled, our first ever thing we recorded, was done adding things using sound on a 2-track tape recorder. Yeah. And you had a built-in limitation because the quality would degrade so much you could only do it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody there's 2 versions, right? There's the full-on epic version, which we would have done had we had 24 tracks, which is on Travelogue. And then, but the one that we released on Fast Records is like ultra minimalist, and
Yeah.
I'd say 90% of people prefer that one.
Oh yeah, that's the one, brother.
It's
You know,
interesting, isn't it?
amazing, isn't it? Amazing. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you've still got one.
yeah, I don't know what I would say then after that. I would say, well,
Nothing from your modular experiments with Eurorack and all that stuff, no?
that's the make noise.
That is the make noise.
That's the make noise. That's the core of my modular setup,
Oh, okay. Fair
I would say. Obviously, there's plenty of other bits and pieces scattered around it, but that is the core of the modular setup. Can I add the MPC? Can we call the MPC a synthesizer? It's a sampler with filters. I love sampling. I've always loved sampling, not to copy orchestras or pianos or organs or anything, but, you know, to make our own concrete style, to grab sounds from the world and make shit. I've always loved that. And that's now, I think I'm going to count that as a synthesizer. And I've always loved hardware samplers, and I've kind of missed them in the last few years. And I feel that with the MPC, I've found a useful musical tool that is a hardware sampler that I'm currently having loads of fun with.
That's nice. I always like, you remember when the Avalanches brought out their first album and it was like 700 samples they had to clear or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was all made of samples, and I thought, I know that's more of a hip hop thing, but
And DJ Shadow's introducing
what
snippets from his record collection, I believe. You know.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, doing your own DIY sampling from vinyl is a totally different thing. You know, that's quite interesting as well. I've never done it, but
It is.
I've done it, but not very much. Yeah.
I'm thinking of doing an electrogenetic project. I've got my father's vinyl. He had what seemed like a huge vinyl collection, but was probably, you know, not that big really. But when he died, I took his vinyl, old classical records, and I'm thinking of going through and taking snippets, you know, to construct pieces from. So MPC tailor-made for that, I think.
There's an artist. I did a big 3D sound installation in Mexico City, and one of the artists, I can't remember his name, Guillermo. Anyway, it was all about the sounds of Mexico City.
Yeah.
And he got access to the archives of the opera house where this installation was going to be, and he took samples of the recordings that had never been heard before and combined them into a giant 3-dimensional soundscape.
Fantastic.
Fucking amazing. I'm going to send it to you.
Yes. Oh, by the way, massive congratulations on getting in so early with Illustrious in your space. You've got multiple, you know, I mean, obviously, really, I mean, groundbreaking, you know, and very esoteric when you started it because the playback systems are so limited and so unavailable. But, you know, now Dolby Atmos is catching up with you, right? 20 years later, right?
Well, here's the irony. They employed Illustrious to be consultants.
Oh, really? Great.
Dolby Atmos. So I went down to their research establishment, and they freely admitted the system that I still use, that I've used for 20 years, sounded better than theirs.
Great.
Then they got rid of me. So then they've learned what they learned two things. One is we weren't a commercial threat, and the other one is I got no ambition to be a commercial threat, and that's all they wanted to know.
So when they realised that, they were fine to just
they just say bye.
Yeah.
But I'm still very proud of it from an artistic point of view.
No, absolutely, brother. And it's such a joy to have the opportunity to. I've not really had the opportunity to work much in any kind of surround space, you know. But really? So much fun. Seems like
it really
fun, you know.
And do you know what is much easier mixing in 3D than it is in
because there's room.
There's room.
Yes.
If you want to hear something louder, you can either move towards it or just pay it more attention. I liken it to being in a crowded restaurant. If you really focus, you can focus on somebody's conversation 3 tables away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And filter everything else out. So it's about attention
in
space as much as, which has taught me a lot. Ironically, since I've been mixing stuff in 3D, mixing in stereo has become much easier for me. I'm less precious about it.
They're great. That's really.
I used to sit in the strong room with a fader you know, spending an hour moving it up half a dB. I'm going,
isn't that
well, bollocks, you know.
Yeah, we've all been there. It's nonsense. Yeah, I know. It's
That's
nonsense.
it, really. I just want to go through some of the people you've worked with, because
Yeah, of course, Martin. Yeah,
I love Nick Cave, and was that fun working with him?
that was an amazing experience. Sadly, a little bit limited. I think I worked on The Good Son. Flood was working with him, and there was a bit of a schedule clash or something. And Flood was only able to do half the project or something.
Right.
So I got called. I was resident in Berlin at the time. I got called in to help out on the other half of the project. You know, what a great band, you know, what a great guy. Not very electronic, actually. The Good Son record, a bit more electronic now with Warren Ellis and his Gina.
Yeah.
But very and you know, so deeply compassionate, intelligent, humorous man, you know, so a great experience that was.
And Erasure, you did what, 5 albums with him?
I've done 5 albums, at least 5 albums, and I think a few albums back, I think when we did other people's songs, we were listening to the mixes in Chertsey then when Vince lived in Chertsey and talking about sound and everything. And he said, you know, the best sounding Erasure album? I said, what's that, Vince? He said, that's the one that Martin did.
He never fucking employed me again, though.
No, I don't.
So what? So go figure, right? What's that all about?
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, he was it's in high flight, yeah.
He told me that before, but I was accusing, you know, trying to bust me up.
They're still great. They're still great. I mean, I'm such an. I mean, as you are, you know, I'm such an admirer of their down to earth.
Oh my God!
I love them both dearly. You know,
Angels.
There are angels, and Andy has the voice of an angel, and Vince has the soul and heart of an angel. Both of them do. I love the fact they're both no bullshit. I love the fact that they're way past their commercial heyday, and they still make Erasure albums, because you know what, they're artists. That's what they do.
That's what they do. But to be honest, they make good money out of touring. Notwithstanding COVID, but
obviously no, and
enormously loyal fan base who believe in their art.
They do, yeah, and they feel the angelic vibes, don't they?
Yeah.
So
their gigs are an amazing experience.
Aren't they an amazing experience? A celebration of
joy, really.
Joy and love and a big party. Yeah.
Yeah, and we, you know, as you know, we toured with them, and on a big arena tour. It's our first tour ever, and whatever the circumstances in any town, everybody in the band went out to see A Little Respect, because it was like just plugging into a giant fucking battery of joy.
Yeah.
You know, everybody loves that song.
Yeah.
No exceptions. Anyway.
Really amazing. And Andy did, you know, and Andy didn't really, I mean, neither of them really, you know, as a gay man who was completely out very early, somehow Andy hasn't quite had the credit in the wider world for that.
Or George Michael, for that matter.
No, there you go. Yeah. It's
something about, I suppose the payback for that is that, for him, is that he's so out and proud, but without being overly dramatic about it.
Yeah.
That it's helped to normalize that kind of, the space in society for people who are out. And that's worth an awful, awful lot.
Yeah. And what a great contrast between his flamboyant stage personality and his down to earth walking down. We're on the bus, you know, he's on the bus and not even noticed by anyone. You know?
That's right.
And then you know, he's a huge flamboyant queen when he's on stage. It's amazing. Really.
Yes, our very fond memories of the Bottomless Chaps. It's my favourite moment.
Oh God, they're grasping. Yeah. That's a great one. But Vince is such a grandfather, isn't he? Of you know, for us, obviously, it was more like Kraftwerk with the grandfathers. But I think now Vince is seen by the younger generation as one of the grandfathers of electropop. You know,
oh,
and such a a dedicated synthesist. You know, that's one of the joys of working with Vince. Is just like, and also he's very no bullshit. I always, in my experience working with Vince, he was always very quick, and that was inspirational. You know,
There's an amazing story of when I was working with him on I Say. I was in Chertsey, and we used to have this routine where he'd work on something overnight because he used to stay up late a lot of the time, and I'd stay in his house. And they'd come in the morning and have a listen to this, and they'd come in, have a listen to it. So, what do you think of it? Completely out of the blue, and it's like beautiful. I said, "Wait, it's really good. Can I suggest a couple of things?" He goes, "Suggest a couple of things. Maybe tweak this synth a little bit, blah, blah, blah." He said, "Go away, have a cup of tea, come back in 20 minutes.
yeah,
He changed the entire arrangement changed the synths that were running on. He changed the arrangement, and it was like 10 times better. I'm going, fucking hell. This is a guy who is like a master arranger.
yeah,
Who knows every single instrument in his armory.
yeah.
There is nobody better. I don't care who the fuck you are. He knows the capabilities of all the synths there and what they're best at.
Yeah.
And that's why the records sound so great.
Yeah, and because an arrangement's such a big part of it, isn't it? Of mixing.
Yeah.
Something I constantly stress to you know, people I'm mentoring or whatever. You know, they say it's like, as you said with the drum sound, it's really about the drummer. You got a good drummer, you can record them with one microphone. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. And similarly with the way the track sounds really is in the arrangement. And he's a genius. The guy's a complete genius. You know?
I think so too. I interviewed Tony Visconti, and I was asking him about because he grew up obviously a little bit older than us, but he grew up. I've always been fascinated with the whole Motown thing and how they got their tracks to sound so characterful. And I was saying I've heard some rumors that they did. They recorded the drums in like some kind of broom cupboard or something with one microphone. He said, no. It was two microphones, one for the kit and one overhead.
Yeah.
And then they used to mix it into mono.
Yeah.
And said, that's fucking genius. You don't need to mic everything up. You don't. I mean, I'm not saying it will work for everything, but, this obsession with everything has to be finely detailed, then you reassemble it sometimes destroys the vibe.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does.
And you get phase cancellation, all that stuff as well.
And with the Sunroof electronic music improvisations record that we did, that's recorded straight to stereo, or sometimes to 4-track.
Right.
We've got stereo out of each modular rig, and we make an improvisation. It either works or it doesn't. This is not about multi-track recording of all the details and jigging out later. It's saying, well, actually, look, this is the performance. Is it something? And obviously half of them we consigned to the cutting room floor. But the other half, we thought, well, actually, maybe that is something. Let's sit and share that with people. I was same kind of approach,
Yeah, I was very influenced by when we went out to Maida Vale to record a John Peel session in '78, and we got shown around the whole thing. They got a giant sound stage there where they do symphony orchestras.
Yeah,
and I said, how's this all recorded? They said, look, there's two giant booms with two fucking microphones.
Yeah,
recording the whole orchestra.
Yeah,
I'm going, you know what? If it's good enough for the Proms, it's good enough for Radio 3. It's good enough,
Yeah.
So anyway, good. Well, this is the fun bit where you get to be a pop star, and give us your favorite color. No, it's not really. It's favorite. Where are we? Hold on a second. What's your favorite film?
My favorite film?
Or one of them?
Whoa!
I know it's difficult.
I don't know. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'll just say something current. There you go.
Yeah, it's good for very good film. Very good.
I'm a huge Tarantino fan.
Oh, me too. Yeah. Book.
Oh, goodness me! I didn't know. You could have given me a bit of warning about.
No. We need your spontaneous response. That's what.
Okay, I tell you what. I really liked is Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind.
Oh.
Recent book where he's investigating at age 60, never having explored psychedelics. He explores psychedelics. Very intelligent. New York Times journalist Michael Pollan, How to Change Your Mind. Yeah,
Thank you. Have you watched Fabulous Fungi on Netflix?
No, but I have read Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake,
Right.
Merlin Sheldrake, he's a mycologist as well.
Right.
And I'm going to make a note of that. Actually, I'm going to.
You
Someone
should
else.
watch it. It's
Yeah,
quite
I will. Yeah, I will. Yeah, fabulous fun.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's a terrible title, but it's a lot deeper than it sounds.
yeah, I'm sure it is, and they are fabulous, and
They are.
they hold our world together. You know.
Not only that, they are like the they're like the World Wide Web for trees communicating with each other. I didn't realize that before this this thing. Anyway, a moment that
You know what? You broke up there.
oh sorry, they enable trees to communicate with each other using mycelium networks.
Yes,
Amazing.
yes, it's very Star Trek.
Yeah. An epiphanal moment in your life that changed that there was like a fork in the road or a handbrake turn, whatever, or some massive moment of realization.
First time I dropped acid.
Good man. That's the answer. That changes everything.
That changed everything. That changed everything, Martin, I must say.
And for me too, I must say. Actually, more magic mushrooms, really. Speaking.
There you go. Yeah. So okay, well let's be more general then. Let's say first psychedelic experience.
Yeah.
But remember, kids, set and setting are very important.
Yeah, and be with someone you like. And
Yes.
other musical artist or composer favorites?
Oh man. Well,
Somebody who's influenced you or stayed.
yes. Well, I mean, Kraftwerk are leaping forward here. Obviously, Kraftwerk fits in.
I require.
Fits in. Yeah. Okay, you got it.
Ambition unfulfilled.
Oh, second electrogenetic record.
Oh, but you're going to do that anyway. So
That was unfulfilled at the moment.
fair enough.
But really, so other ambitions unfulfilled. No. I mean, I'm not a very ambitious person actually.
Most people actually say that,
I
and most people who've had a happy life in music.
I fumbled along. I'm like a feather on the breath of God.
Very nicely put. Which of your own work are you happiest with?
Well, I have to my solo debut record.
Happy.
There's only one. I mean, of my that I am happy with that.
Good.
A lot of the production work I've done over the decades, I look back and I marvel at the beauty of the songwriting and the skill of everyone else involved. I look at what I did and thought, that could have been better. But actually, yeah. So I would say that. Yeah.
Right. And finally,
yes, brother.
Of the 7 deadly synths, which is your favorite synth?
Oh, it's got to be the Make Noise modular case.
Fantastic. That is it. It is done.
Well, that was a great pleasure, Martin.
I'm going to put this out really soon because I think I think the audience that listens to this podcast will really enjoy this because I'm notorious for going off piste all the time. In fact, I don't know where the fucking piste is, but this is definitely on piste, right? So I'm getting back on track. I'm talking to somebody who knows what the fuck they're talking about, and I don't put them off. So
thank you very much for inviting me. It's such a great pleasure to join you and all the other illustrious company. It's
a great thing to spend quality time with you and all the other people I interview as well. It's just so nice to reconnect with people as well after a period of time.
Absolutely brilliant, Martin. Well done. All power to your podcast.
Oh, thanks, man. I'll see you really soon.
Okay. I hope so. Cheers. All the best. Bye.